Now begins Escabur, Legend of Esper. This is the new arc. We have both Mortar and Hulf. Using the Fate Condensed system, I decided to postpone Chronica Fidalis, which I was talking about before. I'm not ready to use it just yet because I'm testing the grounds for it on the side, practicing it, learning the rules. It is a simple system, but there's definitely much difference between the two. So for now, Fate Condensed will be the system for Legend of Esper. And I'm just still enjoying it, so I don't want to jump ship too soon, if that makes sense. So, where do we begin? We are just leaving the Temple of Dragon. And currently, Mortar and Hulf, two characters I will be controlling, both with 3 fate points per, need to return the magic stone, the magic sword, to Shefa, the arcane, or I'm sorry, the archives leader of the archives, at the archives, which is under the library within Haldren. So we have to go from point A to point B within due time. Okay. Traveling in Fate is improvised. I don't really have a method to the madness, so I'm going to try and develop one. Let's take a look at the conditions here. We have mountains, we have grassland, and then we have the cursed center, which does pose danger. We've already run into a few threats when we were following Mortar. And then our final destination is City of Aldrich, which is walled off, but they are expecting us. The guards know us, so there is that credibility factor, which grants us access into the city itself. So, let's position ourselves at the front door to Aldrich. Now, let's go to the Oracle. So the Oracle is going to tell us how things went as we transition from the scene outside the Temple of Dragon up to the walls of Haldrith. Chaos Factor is important. Chaos Rank, as it's called on this one, is very important because that will tell us how things go. Now, as you can see, the higher the Chaos Rank, the more likely it's going to be a yes. Well, after Hulf defeated the Master, air quotes, he met Mortar. And now the two are a party, which does guarantee some safety if they are attacked. That's a consideration. The problem is here, the Curse Center, that is still potentially a danger. Now, is danger of the Curse Center more common? Are encounters more common near Ashford compared to the Edge, where we would be passing through? I think not as likely, but still there is a risk of a potential encounter. On top of that, leaving the mountainous terrain, Mortar did run into some bandits. 2 of them. So there is potential for encounters before we even get to the Curse Center. Remember, the northern half of Escabur, the northern island, is lawless. The southern island is known to be more civilized. So, the appearance of the bandits will probably a bit subtle, in my opinion. A little out of character for the typical behavior of the southern island. Obviously, the Curse Center is questionable, dangerous, unpredictable, but I believe anything south of the Castle Emberstone is probably civilized, calm, and peaceful. So I believe that bandit encounter probably wasn't necessary, and we did lose the map. However, we're on our way back. Things did work out, so that's always a plus. So with all that in mind, we have to increase the chaos factor to 6 because of the Curse Center. Now let's look at the odds. We have a party of 2. Both are skilled in what they do. Let's go to our documents, which I have updated recently. I've given more detail to each character. Most characters. Basically give them a birthplace, an accurate age, a focus instead of an occupation, perks, which are good, quirks, which are not bad necessarily, but can be a hindrance, and then family, plus kind of refining some of the descriptions per character. So we have Mortar, our prior star of the show. He's short, agile, average strength, empath, expert bladesman, skilled archer. His focus is close quarters combat. That's why I gave him the expert bladesman compared to a skilled archer. He can shoot an arrow. Not as good as Hulk, though. His quirks are the social anxiety, life, and thievery. So he has that kind of... he has that aspect where he may want to steal something, but I believe it's a low priority for him. Now we go to Holf. I should say that for Mortar, he's tempted to steal from time to time, so I'm going to keep that in mind. Though it's not an aspect right now. We'll get to that in a second. Holf. Birthplace is Ashford. His home is Nomad, so he doesn't have a home. Could be Haldreth. He's 30 years old exactly, compared to his younger brother, who's 25. About 5 years apart. His focus is Nomad. And his perks are tall, expert ranger. So that's his preference, as I kind of retconned it to be. He's strong, clever, skilled bladesman, heightened senses or heightened awareness. His quirks are he's a hermit, he's a loner, doesn't really travel much, ironically, with what do they call it? With Jory. But that's questionable. I'm going to... these may change, but for now, maybe he's too easy to trust others. I'm trying to think I know there's a word for that, but I'll keep that one in mind. Then there's his family. So that is our party of 2 at the moment. Now, back to the map. So taking that into account, I'd say, do we run into any problems? That's the question. I'm going to say 50-50. I think that's fair. So let's roll. Do we run into anything? Let's just leave it at that. Do we run into anything? Here we go. 65 or less is a yes. Okay, 43 is what we run into. Now, let's roll pay the price. What do we run into exactly? 24. Something of value is lost or destroyed. We've rolled that one quite often lately. I'm looking at my item list for both characters. More so the stunts. Mortar has the golden sword. And also, I forgot I had a character sheet from Hulf back when we were using condensed. So I luckily didn't throw it away. I still had it. So the golden sword actually should be in Hulf's possession because Mortar did show signs of corruption when he had it. So I'm going to move over the golden sword. Oh, I'm sorry. It's actually called a magic sword. Not the golden sword, magic sword. So the magic sword, that's moving over to Mortar at the moment. I'm going to erase it from... Sorry, Hulf. I'm going to mix these guys up a lot. Hopefully I catch myself often. Mortar doesn't have it anymore. Hulf has it. So, could it be the magic sword? Is that what they lose in this instant before they got to Haldreth? Hulf also has his wrist dart launcher. Did not forget about that. That's one of the character sheet. And then there's the Ashford scroll. So, if we want to go by the role of pay the price, we certainly can. But I want to expand on that. I'm thinking it is either the scroll or the sword. So let's go to action and themes to see what exactly this problem may be. We have 70, which is command 97, wealth. Command wealth. Someone of loyalty. Royalty is passing by. Somebody. Okay, well, let's see where we are. Haldreth is really the only place on the way that has anybody of royalty. So let's say we run into this problem here. Well, let's ask the Oracle. Is this problem going to be before the cursed center? I'm going to say unlikely. Before the cursed center, 18. Unlikely. Before the cursed center. Okay, that's a yes, which means this happens before they even get to the cursed center. So, we are still here. There's a path, there's a main route that goes between the Grey Top Range all the way to the city of Haldreth. Which means somebody is passing by, and it could be an encounter. It is someone of nobility, which means somebody of nobility. We have the sword, we have the scroll. The sword most likely is concealed under Wolf's cape. But why would a noble take interest in such an item? Perhaps it's not exactly a threat. I think it could be. I have an idea here. So, might be a new character too. All right, story mode. There is somebody traveling from Castle Emberstock. Castle Emberstock has been sitting on the map for some time. And it's been untouched. I don't have any information on it. It's just there. So I don't even have a page made for it. Nope, nothing. So it's a blank slate. It's just there, and I was eventually going to get to it. So somebody is traveling from Castle Emberstock to Haldreth. They are looking for a certain someone. Well, this could be interesting. Let me make a character, and I will get back to you guys here in a second. Okay, I got a character, and I think it's going to be very suitable for this current arc. The Esper, the Legend of Esper. So, let me introduce you to King Jenkins Great Top the Third. So, if you guys can see it, so I'm going to zoom in a bit. I cannot zoom in. So, see if I can use this a little bit. There we go. That's a tad better. All right. He is so the castle Emberstock. I believe that's what we are calling it. I'm not sure if it's Castle of Emberstock. Yep, Castle Emberstock. It's a monarchy government. Large castle, founded. I think that's actually a typo. I'm gonna say year 10. It's ruled by him. He's the third. So Grey Top the Third. There's his pick. He's 56 years old. I'm actually going to say 66. He's probably one of the original occupants, settlers. He's lawful neutral, ruler of Castle Emberstock. His perks are wise, collector, royalty. His quirks, corrupt, secretive, and grumpy, old. Okay. Now, a couple of starting traits, bullets. His family owns most of the lands of Greytop. So I threw in that mix, including the mountain ranges. He has a conflicting past with the Council of Haldreth. So, some potential history here that just caught our eyes, that crossed our paths. So, Holf and Mortar are again leaving the mountains and they're traveling to Haldreth. This individual, King Jenkins Greytop III is with his cavalry on their way to Halbrith, and we basically cross paths with them. Not many travels on these routes, on these paths, these routes. Not many travel on this path. So while we're walking, I want to ask the Oracle if at least Hulf recognizes this individual. Remember, also some updates to Hulf's past. Because one of my viewers mentioned had some very good questions regarding Hulf's and respectively Mortar's past too, because they are kind of clouded. Basically, Hulf was raised by Edrin in Setfane for many years after Ashfur's destruction. Never knew Edrin was his uncle. Just somehow saved. Got a typo there. Somehow, let's fix that. Saved him. That's what happens when you type on your phone too fast. Just somehow saved him. Mentored him growing up. Found out in Dark Realms arc, Edrin was his uncle. Defeated Master. Neutral to Jory. So Jory was going to kill him, use his blood to enter Ashford's chamber. After the Battle of Massacre, they both reached a truce and avoided any further conflict. Wolf originally thought that Mor and Damon were dead, found by Mortar outside Temple Dragon, which happened in the last episode. And I think I did expand on Mortar a bit. So let's see. Met with the Council exposed. So most like I did not expand too much on. I think we know his story already. He was raised in Corwood. So I'll leave it at that. All right, back to this encounter with the king. So we need to roll. This might be a roll regarding lore, which for Hulf is +2. So we can also use an aspect under relationships. This is his relationship is lessons taught by Edwin, which has stuck for some time. Or the hair of Ashford. Remember, Holt is of royalty now, though it's being modified as they go back to Holt. I'm going to spend a fate point using the Snooka-Cola Cat to invoke that for a +2. And lore is a +2, so we have a +4 on this roll. And remember, we are using the Ironsworn mechanic for this fate game. So +4 on this roll to see if he at least recognizes this person. 8, that's a weak hit. So, a weak hit means that he does know who this is, but there has to be a minor setback. Mortar does not know who this is, which could pose a problem. I think because this grumpy old man, who is of royalty, likes to be, when he is in the area, within the lands of Greytop, the Greytop Range, which we are. We're technically in his lands. He does let people pass through, but when he is present, he expects a kneel. He expects you to kneel and say, "Good day, my lord," etc. So Hulf sees this, and he remembers. He stops Mortar, and the king stops with his cavalry, with his caravan, and he stands up and looks at Hulf. He recognizes Hulf. Mortar and Hulf kneels, or kind of bows a bit. Just kind of does this. Says good day, Lord Jenkins. Greytop the Third. It's been far too long. So I'm basically saying that Hulf has met King Jenkins before. Probably through his exploits looking for Edwin. And so let's add that to our notes. So let's go to characters. And Hulf has met, it's named Jenkins, very top, in the past. Maybe used the castle Emberstock as for camp without Edwin. That was after Edwin was vanished. Okay. And the king does this. He recognizes him. I don't think he has any beef with Hulf. But Mortar doesn't bow. Doesn't even kneel, does nothing. He just stands there confused. What's going on? So the king acknowledges this. He says, "Why aren't you bowing before me?" And Hulf kind of nudges, he nudges Mortar. Mortar, trying to see what he would do in character. And we go back to his character here. Empath, so I think he's just naive in this department. So he stutters for a moment, hesitates, and then he does kind of do a very pathetic bow. And the king says, "That will not do. I require a full bow." And he demonstrates it comedically, like he bends down like this, and all of his other kind of guards around him do the bow too, like this. They all say it in unison. Paul says, "My apologies, King Jenkins, Gracetop the Third. My brother's not from this place. He traveled afar from the North Esper Island, from the Northern Island." And the king says, "Your brother, you say? I thought he was dead." And he steps off the carriage and walks up to our party. Elf says, "Yes, I did so too." And then the king's like, "Interesting." He looks at Mortar, sizes him up. "What is your name, young man?" And Mortar says, "I am Mortar. You seem very important." And the king says, "Yes, this is my land, the very land you step on, and I'm assuming you are here because of Halberth." Or he says, "I'm assuming you're on your way to Halberth." Hall says, "Yes, we are. And you?" The king says, "Yes, I am myself." He swings his cape around and turns and walks to his carriage, steps on top, and looks to Hulf and Mortar once again. I don't know if he's going to offer them a ride, but he does say, "Hulf, you and a brother, I warn you, next time you see me, I require a full bow. Next, if you don't, I will have you both detained and removed from my land." And I'm trying to make him seem very cartoonish, but again, there is a deeper side to him that we can probably experience pretty soon. So Hulf says, "My apologies. Next time we will indeed follow the practice." And then the king waves bye and he leaves. So as they watch him leaving, Mortar is confused, like, "And who was that?" Hulf takes a deep breath. He says, "That was King Jenkins Greytop the Third, an arrogant prick who was a thorn in my ass. He's the ruler, self-ruler. This family owns this land. And if we are to travel through it, we must pay him respect. This is the only way the side boat to Hull from where we are. I once used, I once basically, I'm trying to think what he says. I think he's just saying that he once used Emberstock, Castle Emberstock, as a camp to rest for the night when he was looking for Edwin. So he just says, when I left Septhane, I was looking for Uncle Edwin, and I had to rest up in Castle Emberstock. They were courteous. Their hospitality was much thankful. I was much thankful for their hospitality. But the king, he is not someone you want to cross paths with, at least not intentionally. So Waters says, "I'll take that. I'll remember that. What do you think is going? Why do you think he's going to Castle to Halberth?" Yes, his brother. And Hall says, I'm not sure, but the timing couldn't be any more suspicious. I wonder if he's going because of what we saw earlier today, or at least what I saw. And nice talking to the master. So again, the big dragon in the sky flying north is probably was seen by a lot of people. And I have to remember that. That's a conditional an aspect of this environment. So something I haven't done much in my own game was my ATM house rule aspect of moment. So I can, from a player perspective, I can say ATM to make a withdrawal. I pay with an aspect to use three potential aspects in the immediate moment. In that immediate moment, haven't done that yet. So an aspect I'm thinking about is the dragon, the shining light dragon, the blue eyes white dragon is flying across the sky. So that's basically what they run into. They run into the king of Greytop as he makes his way to Haldreth, which could be a problem for us. So the weak hit might be that problem. Well, I think the weak hit was more so kind of a bad first impression for Mortar to the king. Just a bad impression. Remember, he's not the king of Haldreth. He's just the king of his own little land and castle. Which, strangely enough, the castle is... I'm thinking the castle should be actually here. I might move that over. I don't know. I'm still thinking whether he owns all this land here. Maybe. Having it here does make sense for Hull's backstory. If he left Septhane to travel the land looking for Edwin, he had to stay here somewhere, at Ravenshade, which he was in Ravenshade the first very episode. So, yeah. Okay, now, let's continue. We wasted a lot of time on that. They make their way through the cursed center. And, again, we try to get to the door, the front door of Haldreth. We have to ask the Oracle, which we did. So, we do indeed get to the front door. And I'm assuming they probably had an encounter or two with some strange shadowy forces in the Curse Center. Nothing worth covering. Let's say they did take one stress box per. I'll just say one stress box per for them. Okay? Even though stress boxes fall off after the scene concludes, I'm going to keep them on for a second. So as they are entering Haldreth, they are greeted by, they look for, I should say, a certain someone. And that someone is in Haldreth. It's the advisor, or it's the liaison of the Haldreth Council. I add up my personal dictionary. There we go. Campton. Campton greets us. And let's see what he says as we are speaking to him. 87. Actually, my apologies. The archives. That is priority one. We take care of this side quest. We can then go to the main quest, which is the council. So, we're not meeting with Campton. We go straight to the archives. The archives is Shafa. So we enter the library. We are in the library. We go downstairs. We are greeted by the old lady, by the front the front guard. We go inside. Shafa is sitting there. She turns around with a big smile on her face. She sees that Mortar was able to complete his quest and find his brother. She's intrigued. She's happy to see them together. And Hulf hands her the magic sword, which is surprising to her because she was expecting Mortar to do it. So Shafa is sitting there, takes the sword. Thank you, young man. You must be Hulf. He says, yes, I'm Hulf. I'm Mortar's older brother. You are? Wait, I'm sorry. Tremor, does she know Hulf? Now she does. Okay, so I think I might have screwed that up, but that's okay. She knows Hulf. That's fine. And Mortar. Just a little FYI to myself. Okay. So she knows Hulf. She says, hello again, Hulf. Hello, Hulf. Good to see you again. Or nice to meet you. However we want to go about that. I don't recall exactly. She looks to Mortar and says, I was expecting you to hand me the sword. Mortar seems hesitant to detail why he doesn't hold a sword, but she can read him like a book. She looks closer. She gets a little awkwardly close to him, looks into his eyes, and says, she sits down with the sword on her desk, puts it on the desk, and she does this. You saw something, didn't you? Wolf is like, "Oh, she's good." Mortar's like, "Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I saw someone all right. I couldn't tell you what it was, so I'm not sure if it was real or not." She was like, "That's a shame, because I'm assuming what you saw is probably the life or death of our entire land. If this sword, the magic sword itself, projected a vision onto its wielder, it's typically good to follow it. So the sword itself, just a magical item, it typically shows you your path, your goal in life, or your desires, or your future destiny, blah, blah, blah. And she's saying if you ignore it, it could corrupt you. It could endanger your life. It's like a bad omen. And Mortar's like, do I really need another perilous journey? I just fought tooth and nail, life or death situations to find my brother, and I just found him. And now you're telling me that the entire Escabur lands, the two islands could be, what, destroyed? Conquered? What are we talking here? She leans forward and says, well, what did you see? And she's intrigued because she really wants to dig this into she wants to dig this out of Mortar. Holf kind of nudges him, like, go, tell her. Mortar sits down in a chair. Holf sits down. They have a little meeting. Shafa tells one of her guards to close the door. Close the door. Mortar says, well, oh, right. So, ATM. Let's aspect the moment. So, I'm spending a fate point to aspect the moment, and that is the Master's resurgence. But she was downstairs when it happened. Maybe one of her people noticed it outside. So before the door closes, we're modifying the story. A foot blocks the door, and it's one of her scouts. The scout apologizes for interrupting and says that he saw something that she might want to know about. Something happened that she might want to know. And she says, what is it? Why did you interrupt me? And the scout says, Shafa, we just saw something terrible happen. It flew over the sky. It was bright, in the shape of a dragon. Holf says, that was probably me. And Holf probably could have mentioned it, but he wasn't sure what to make out of it. He wasn't sure what to make of it. And so they look at him. Holf says, like I mentioned earlier, the Arcane, myself, Jory, we fought the Master. He returned. And Shafa's like, you didn't mention this to me? Now both of you bring potential world-ending disasters to my table, to my desk right now. And Elf's like, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm still overwhelmed to find my brother here, and now there's this otherworldly force. And so the scout, he just leaves. He's like, doesn't know what to say. Schaefer just says, okay, thank you. You can leave. She slams her desk and she stands up and says, where was the Master going? What happened? So Holf kind of details what happened. I feel like this is like a principal meeting with two disobedient students in a high school or something. You two have been this is your last straw. We're going to be banished out of Hogwarts. So that's just kind of how I'm seeing this. They're being like talked down to. The principal's getting pissed off. Anyways, you flushed that kid's toilet in the last time, my friend. That kid's head into the toilet. So she pounds her desk and she stands up in rage. And I'm looking at her character. She's book smart, historian, magic awareness. not much about her as a character, so I'm just kind of improvising at this point, just as a human. So Holf says, "Look, Jory and I, we now he doesn't spill the beans. I think it's a truce. He doesn't spill the beans about his identity. Oh yeah, he's a leader of the Arcane. He says, I was in the Temple of Dragon. I got teleported from Ashford, from the chamber beneath Ashford's grounds, into the Temple of Dragon. I met a wandering spirit. I then the master appeared in his dragon form as a statue. We fought. Joy was there. He helped. Then suddenly Arcane intervened. It was complete chaos. We defeated him eventually after taking some wounds. The entire castle crumbled. We escaped with our lives. Then my brother showed up, and then the spirit of the master took off into the air and flew north. She's like, flew north. And then she looks to Mortar and says, "What did you see in the sword?" I saw the peaks of Pantheon. And he's like, "Don't you say the dragon, Esper dragon." And he says, "Well, I saw a dragon, and I thought it was only a myth, a legend from what I've heard in my time in Forwood." She says, "It's not a legend." She grabs a book off her shelf, she looks down her shelf, and she grabs a book. She plops it on the table, opens up, it's a giant book. She skips like 100 pages, and she points to a dragon of Esper. And it shows the dragon in the book, right here. It shows a picture of that, to that extent, like a drawing. So she says, trying to think what she says here, because it's like this is a whole new plot thread. Let's ask the Oracle. I just really don't know what to say here. The dragon, blah blah blah, 80, change, 79, revenge. She says, this book is written in the native tongue of the Eldoridians, the prior occupants of these lands. And this picture of the dragon is the very dragon that your settlers, she looks to Mortar, the Corwood settlers, only a handful of people, travelers, have seen flying around over the mountains upon their travels up to Corwood to settle. So we're talking the timeline-wise, we are talking Esper Prime. So she says during the Esper Prime time, and then 30 years in, the time in the north, as the settlers traveled north. So when Halder split, she's saying that the travelers found this book after surveying the land, after exploring and finding ancient ruins, or maybe better yet, the Watchstone Island. Originally Watchstone, because the rift didn't happen until the year 50. So before it was one whole island. I gotta remember that for details, for continuity. So they found the book at the Watchstone ruins, and amongst other things that the archives have collected. She says, amongst everything we collected, this book is the rarest item we have. It is the most detailed, but we can't read the language. We're trying to decipher it every day. Slowly we can get some details, but this is the only picture of a dragon in this entire book. Dragons of legend. Flying winged creatures that can spit fire and fly miles into the sky has been seen. The original settlers of the north around the Pantheon peaks. Then she closes the book. If the master is in some kind of spiritual form after you defeated him, supposedly, and he's making his way up north, I have a feeling he's going to the Esper Dragon. Nobody knows where the Esper Dragon is. We don't know if he is in a cave or some kind of secluded chamber. We don't know. We just know he typically. And then Mortar says, "Well, I remember in my vision, like he's trying to remember, flying, and it was going to the tallest peak in the Pantheon, the peaks of Pantheon, and I saw a large ruin structure, like a chamber, I entered the doors and there was candles and the dragon was there. He was asleep. But then I was snapped out of it. My whole snapped me out of it. I could have sworn I saw his eyes open. So she leans back in her, she sits in her chair, she leans back and says, "You probably saw what the master saw. If he's going to the dragon, this could have the dimension. This could have implications for all of our settlements throughout the land. The master, I feel, is plotting his revenge. The very ones defeated him." Holf leans forward and says, "So the master attacked our home village years ago. But what happened to him? I found him in some kind of stasis. He was a statue before he was awakened by us. He looked badly damaged. Who fought him?" And that's when she leans forward a bit. She whispers, "We don't know the exact details about what happened." And before she talks, I want to make them details here. I have an idea what happened to him. Now, a while ago in this arc, in this campaign, I mentioned the Esper dragon is kind of like the Godzilla of this land. If there is another alpha male or beta male, whatever, creature that dare challenges the ranking monstrosity of this land, the Esper dragon awakens and defeats it. It remains the ruler, like the self, like the regulating factor of this world, the Esper dragon. So because the master chose the appearance of a dragon, fly around, spit fire, and all that stuff, the Esper dragon made itself present and eventually attacked. So let's go to the timeline here. And it says the vicious dragon master attacks the city of Halders, burning many buildings down and killing dozens, was eventually thwarted by a powerful group of magic users from the archives. I'm changing this. So was eventually defeated. Not the archives, because again, I'm stepping on my own feet here. I almost forgot about that actually. But wasn't the archives that defeated him? I don't think they were powerful enough to do so. It was the Esper Dragon. So this was the first recorded instance of a mysterious dragon attacking a settlement. Not true. Legend says the Esper Dragon from Hathion was Esper Peak awakened to defeat the master. There you go. The Esper Dragon from year 32. A few explorers in the northern briefly saw a legendary dragon flying around the highest peak of the peaks of Pathion. Those same explorers set out to find the dragon but never returned. The dragon was last seen around the tallest peak, Esper. Okay? So he's seen flying around. 8 years before the tyranny of the dragon. Quote unquote, the master. Or actually, let's put that in asterisks. So a couple of, there, couple of plot, kind of a shaky plot here, but I'm trying to maintain continuity. So the dragon, when I'm also trying to keep it simple. I don't want to go into every single detail, but basically, the master wanted to conquer the land. He took the form of dragon, started attacking. I don't know why I didn't put Ashford in here. Okay, so what I did, I noticed a few problems in my timeline. Again, the timeline is always fluent. It will change as the story grows. I compressed both events. There was some issues with the placement of the time of the dragon's attack. So basically, the Great Rift, which is the most pivotal moment in the entire timeline, was at year 50. So 50 years after the settlement, I'm sorry, 30.1 years after the settlement, the Esper Prime time. A few explorers, as they're traveling north, again, there's time in the north in year 30, 30.1, so January, if you want to compare it to our calendar, they saw the dragon flying around the peaks. That's it. Year 50, a catastrophic break in reality was unleashed by otherworldly forces originating from the settlement of Ashford. Rumors circulating that a vicious dragon, the Master, attacked Ashford, causing its destruction and the rift to break. This was known as the Great Rift, merely known as a rift to the locals. Unknowingly, to the settlers, countless strange inhuman creatures escaped the rift from another parallel dimension and eventually fled into the Darkwood Greens. That's a side plot. Legend says the Esper dragon from Esper Peak awakened to defeat the Master, though the battle was only seen by the villagers of Ashford, who are all, quote unquote, all dead. Damon is the only surviving adult who saw it. So there you go. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Damon is literally the only living adult with memory of seeing the Esper dragon, the fight of the dragons. But he was gone for some time after the attack. So here's how it happened. The dragon, the Master, the false dragon, attacked. I might have to simplify this too in my description. Anyways, the Master attacked Ashford for whatever reason. During the attack, the Esper dragon awakened, detecting the presence of a competing force. Like Godzilla went to the area, fought the Master. The Master was completely overpowered. The Master retreated back to the Temple of Dragon, whether it was in his human form, etc. The Esper dragon flew back to the mountains. That's it. It waked up and it went back. It waked up, defeated the Master, went back home. Got some milk on the way home, got some groceries. So, I think Damon saw all this. And he's kept it secret this entire time. So let's go to our document and go to Damon, who's in Corwood, the only living member of Ashford to have seen the Esper dragon fight the Master in dragon form. All right? I mean, that is a big deal. Holt doesn't know this. Does Shafa know this? Probably not. I highly doubt it. So she's not thinking about that. So while we just did that lower dump, I completely forgot about what was happening. So we're talking to Shafa, and basically, she says there is mystery as to why the Master attacked Ashford, which caused a great rift. You two happen to be here. This is destiny calling. You need to go find the Master and defeat him once and for all, and why he's going to the Esper Dragon. So, again, I might be stepping my own feet here, but does she know that the Esper Dragon fought the Master? No, she doesn't. As smart as she is, she doesn't. She has the book about the presence of a dragon in the Peaks of Pantheon, but not what the dragon did. So, what happens next? We have a quest here. Mortar says, he looks to Wolf, takes a deep breath. Wolf takes a deep breath. They're like, all right. Like, what do you want us to do to fight a dragon? What can we do? She leans back and says, the sword. The sword is the only thing that can defeat the Master and his power. They're like, really? Again, that's why it makes sense story-wise, chronologically, or sorry, canon, the canon of the story. canonically, why the master kept the sword in his temple. He doesn't want it to get in the wrong hands for it to be used against him. So, another element of the story we need to add, and that is characters. And let's see, where is our friend, the master? I don't have a profile for the master, don't I? I don't think I do. I have one for the Dark Realms. I have one for the Esper Peak. I do not have one for the master, which is fine. Temple of Dragon, I'm going to make it here. So I'm going to pause the video and be right back. Okay, here he is, the master. Temple of Dragon, destroyed. Destroyed Ashford for unknown reasons. Fought the Esper Dragon, mortally wounded. Healed for years in his temple. Encountered Wolf and Jory. Defeated, but now in some kind of energy-based form. Flew north to escape. Can only be defeated by the magic sword. You can see there's a spoiler covered at the very bottom. I have an end game for this guy. It's a perfect match for what's been going on here, and it's connected to a certain someone. So, I'll leave it at that. I will not say anything else about the master. He can be defeated by the magic sword, which was in his temple for some time. So, Shafa predicts that if the master can get to the Esper Dragon, for whatever reason, she doesn't know, to control him, to defeat him, to take over, whatever. She's thinking the only reason why he's flying north is to get to the Esper Dragon. And she says if he does, this could be catastrophic for the Escabur landscape. Mostly, or at first, the northern lands, the northern island. And Mordor and Hulf, rightfully, freak out, because that's what their family is, Corwood. So they're like, oh my god, what do we do? Well, she gives the sword back to Hulf. So I'm gonna write this down. So the magic sword, I'll have to make this a stunt somehow. Then she looks to Mordor and says, you did indeed complete the quest and bring the sword back. But seeing as there has been this complication, plans change. And Mordor's like, what do you mean? She says, well, the stones. He's like, oh yeah, the stones. That's like, I almost forgot. Because you can have them back. But I have another quest for you. And Mordor and Hulf both agree, like, well, if it's, well, we don't really have a choice here. We need to do something in order to save our family's life. The people in Northern Ireland, that's their home. So again, this is kind of it has to be done. So someone walks in with a sack, and this person takes out the stones. Sorry, just one stone. The other stone is back home with Demon. The magic stone. I'm just calling it the magic stone at this point. And she gives it back to Mordor. It looks fully repaired and it's glowing. She says, we fixed the stone. A deal's a deal. Now, what do you both do from here? And Hulf and Mordor are confused. They're like, well, we need to tell my father. I need to tell my father that I found Damon. I found my brother. Hulf is looking. He's not saying anything. He's just observing. And she says, are you going to tell him anything else? Mordor's like, what I saw, the potential danger. She says, you can't. You have to keep this a secret. We don't know the true intentions of the master yet. His behavior is erratic. He is a monster. We cannot predict what he does. We're only assuming what he can do. There might be somewhere else he's heading to. But if he's flying north, most likely, highly likely, is the Northern Island. We cannot tell anybody about this. You have to do this with you and your brother alone. So he looks to his brother. Hulf agrees, like, I understand. Brother, just tell father that you found me. And that's it. So Mordor, he's torn on this, but he does eventually agree. So I'm looking at Mordor's aspects here. Compassionate, lost brother Hulf, Dark Realm's influence. We're not really near a portal, so I don't really think that qualifies in the moment. So let's say he agrees. They all stand up. Technically, the meeting is over. Mortar thanks her for the help, for the assistance for the stone, and then we go outside and use it to talk. He does ask if they can go on the roof to use it. Better cell signal. And so Hulf understands. Schaefer says, yes, one of my people will lead you up to the roof. So they are taken to the roof. They're taken to the roof, and Mortar is about to use the stone. And that's where I'll conclude. Well, hold on a second. Let's go to plot twist. While they're up on the roof, about to use the stone to communicate with, hopefully Damon's on the other line. I'm writing in the stone for the stunt list. There we go. It's just an item, not necessarily a stunt. Let's roll to see what happens. 92. Unexpected powers or abilities are revealed. Okay. Unexpected powers and abilities are revealed. Now, it doesn't have to be like magic. It can be a trigger for something darker. And here's what I'm saying. Now, as I've been expanding on the Esper campaign, I've been trying to figure out how magic works in this world. We were using AI in the first arc, and it was just basic magic. There was magic missile, shield, all that stuff, disguise, all the usual spells. But then I kind of toned it down recently. It's been low magic, almost none whatsoever, besides the stone and the sword and the master. So I developed my own type of magic, and I call it bending. So, reality bending. Basically, without the portals, without the dark dimension, the dark realms existence, this would be no fantasy, just fiction. Medieval Europe, this would be like the Chronica Feudalis book. But because the Dark Realms have seeped in and corrupted the land, it has caused certain individuals to mutate, to become evolved, to wield what appears to be magic, but it's reality-bending abilities. Like the Master, Jory, even Edwin to an extent. And now both Mortar and Hulf have some very minor control over the dark forces, these dark dimensional powers. That's what I will call it now. So there are specific individuals who are gifted and using this type of reality-bending abilities. Artifacts across the landscape are contaminated with this certain powers. The Eldorians, the prior occupants of this land, we don't know what happened to them. That might be a historical arc I can do later. But they existed and they're gone. Gee, I wonder why. So it's like, this reality bending concept is, I think, a suitable replacement for just common D&D magic. I'm going to put that into the world lore, and just, it's reference for myself, because I think it's going to play well in a future arc. And also, it's how the stone works and how the magic stone works, any artifact that can do the impossible. So that's just some backstory, some background onto how magic works in the world of Escabur. So before, like I said, let's go back to the story. Before they call out to their father, something needs to happen. And I think it is the arcane. Let's go to our oracle. Chaos factor is 5 because we are in a controlled environment. 50-50 chance. I'm going to say someone likely is the arcane. So 65 or less. Is it the arcane? 68. Ooh, okay. It's not the arcane. That's a very weak no. It's Jory. So as they're standing on top of this library, not very tall, it's a couple stories, Hulf looks down and sees Jory. He's talking, to the king of Emberstock. So let me go. He's talking to Jenkins. Purely coincidental. He sees Jory talking to Jenkins. And that's where it cuts to black. Okay? That's where we're going to end this episode. So, um, I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been, wow, okay. A lot of world building, and it's getting a little out of hand in some respects, but that's a good thing. I want it to get out of hand, and because you guys catch a lot of my problems, and to be honest, that's the beauty of it. I'm going to have inconsistencies. I want to do my best to fix something, but when I fix something, I make a mistake later, or I inadvertently cut a thread to something else. So if I edit a page on here on the document, then I could inadvertently mess something up on another page because I have a tendency to put facts or events in multiple time points in this document. Again, this is one entire document, and that has potential to happen. But that's half the fun. So if I find a mistake, I'm like, you know what? Let's retcon this. That has a tendency to happen. So again, before I conclude, we are still in Haldreth, and right now we are about to commune with our Father. But we see, Holf sees, for some reason, Jory talking to Jenkins. Because they were on, remember, Jory had a head start when he left, and the king was in his caravan, his his um his wagon. I think he picked him up, or maybe Jory knows Jenkins. Okay, and that's it for this episode. I truly hope you enjoyed, and I apologize I've not been using Chronica Fidalis just yet. I'm still in the Fate Zone. I want to transition to Chronica, not now, but probably in a few episodes. I still need to learn it. It's not a big book, but it is a tad different. It has its own challenges, its perks and quirks. So, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment. I'll see you next time.